Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today I wanted to cover something that I think is super useful for all of you guys to know about, and that is 10 double die Obverse pennies that are pretty modern, pretty recent, and you have a chance of finding that are going to be, again, have some extra money attached to them. Now we're covering coins that go back to 1983 and come all the way up to about 2015 or 2014. And the good thing about that is that they're all the zinc penny, so it's really what's going to be circulating the most in your pocket change. So it's important. I think I don't want to show you stuff that you have no chance of finding. These are real ones that you can actively cherry pick or hunt for that are double die obverse. So that'll also make the hunting easier when you remember it in your mind. All of these coins are going to have their errors found on the front of the coin. The format for the video, I've got the 10 errors, technically 11 because one of them is the same date with two versions of the error, and we'll go over those in the PowerPoint presentation and talk about their values and show you the pictures. And one thing to keep in mind with the values is that it is somewhat of an estimate since there's not tons and tons and tons of these coins. If you find, for example, 1984 penny, doesn't mean you have the error one. You're going to have to look to see if the error is present, and that's what would make the coin valuable. Let's go to our first of 10 and we'll go through all of them. Looking forward to sharing so you know what to look for. And the way that we're going to do this video, as I may have mentioned, is starting from the back. But in terms of the first penny that I want to cover, it's from 1983. So that was the first year that they were fully on the zinc types of pennies, composition-wise. And you can really see the doubling all across the front of the coin. It's not a super valuable one, but it's prominent in the L, in the B. You can also see in the W quite well on the left side of each of the letters, and that kind of is a shift in terms of how it manifests on the Liberty versus the we, so that's just something to look out for. But in terms of the values, an AU50, that's about uncirculated, so it could see a little time in circulation at that point. That's going to be about a $10 coin. Mint State 63 kicks up to about $25 coins, so not too much wear on that one. And then Mint State 65, a real crisp, nice, new-looking coin, is going to be a $40 coin. The coin after that is something that I do want to say just a little note about, and that's the 1983D doubled ear penny. And that's that doubled ears are considered double die obverses. They don't necessarily look like some of the other double die coins that we're going to be taking a look at, but they are interspersed throughout this video. I think that we have two of them for you guys. There are more doubled ear coins than that, but the way to look for it is normally Lincoln has an ear like this. In this case, though, the ear, and it's easier to see on the right side, just has some extra protrusions underneath it, like there's a second ear protruding, or a second ear lobe, really. So that's what we're going to be looking for there. This is actually kind of a valuable coin. $30 in about uncirculated 50, 95 for Mint State 63, and 135 in Mint State 65. So a little over 3 times as valuable as the previous coin. Next up, we have the 1984 penny, which has two different errors that we're going to be talking about. The first is the most well-known 1984 error, and that's actually another doubled ear. And it's a much more prominent doubled ear. You can really see this one. I've seen them in person, and it's very easy to spot if you have a 1984 doubled ear coin. And they're a lot more valuable. $85 for about uncirculated 50, $125 for Mint State 63, and $190 for Mint State 65. But they can go for more than that. I think that the trend has been slightly downward in recent years, but that's like the big doubled ear coin that everybody says to look out for. Now, what people sometimes neglect to mention is that there's also a second double die that's more focused in Liberty in 1984. This double die won't be on a doubled ear coin, but the way that it manifests is just a light leftward spread, and then you can see a little bit in the 9 and a little bit in the 4. In terms of this double die, it's a lot less valuable. $30 for AU50, 70 for Mint State 63, and 85, which is actually a not very large increment in Mint State 65. So that's kind of what we're working for on the 1984s. When we move to the 1984 D penny, you get a slightly more separated double die, and that's going to be really concentrated in the 4. So you can see a split right there, as well as extra thickness. This is pretty worn, keep that in mind, on the 8s, as there is a little bit of slight doubling as it protrudes from the right side of the 8. This one is not as valuable though. $15 AU50, 30 Mint State 63, 45 for Mint State 65, and that's the case with a lot of the more minor ones. If it's not like a really namesake or, high publicity error, often the value kind of dips a little bit when compared to the ones that are really well known. Fast forward about a decade and we get to an error that I actually own. I have one of these, not in a slab, but I picked it up from the coin shop for a really low price, and it's one that's an easy one if you want to go and buy one, but that's the 1995 penny, and it's pretty significant doubling. You can really see it in the God. That's where I see it best when I'm trying to look at my own example. Liberty, there's also some doubling, but the best separation I think is in the G and the D. And this one is, again, not super valuable. It's attainable. $10 AU50. Mint State 63 is like a $25 coin. Mint State 65 is $35. So often if people have one of these, it's not even really worth it to get it graded unless it's going to grade 66, 67 range, because you can sell it unslabbed. After that, we get to an error that is quite valuable, and it's probably going to be the most valuable of this video, and that's the 1995 D penny, also a double die. It's a little bit in the date, but you can really see it in the trust and in the U and the S, all throughout that word. It's going to be very doubled. This one's $175 in AU50, $350 in Mint State 63, and $525 in Mint State 65. Now, one word as we're just going through this, there are dates with errors that are kind of in between these. A lot of those are going to be repunched mint mark. I have a different video coming out on them, but these are really just the double die obverse ones that you want to look for, which brings us to 1996. There's AU50, a $50 coin, Mint State 63, 200, Mint State 65, 300. The interesting thing about this one is that it's a lot tougher to pick out with your own eyes. You can see in the 6 there is some doubling throughout, a little bit in that inside of the 9, but it's a lot harder to tell because there's not as much of a spread, but it still commands a greater value than some of the coins that have more noticeable doubling. Still one to be on the lookout for. Our list also includes, and this is our last doubled ear of the day, the 1997 double die obverse ear coin, and this one, the ear is pretty close, but again, it's clearly like a second earlobe. 1984, you're going to see it come a lot more below the ear, whereas this one, it's kind of hugging it a bit more, but it's still a clear separation and pretty valuable. This one's $75 in AU50, $200 in Mint State 63, and $300 in Mint State 65. Now, as we reach the 2000s, we have two more double dies that I want to go over. The first is on the 2006 penny, and this one you can see it a bit in the date as well as in the Liberty. You can see the protrusion, a lot of the doubling in the B. There's just a little bit more surface area. You can see it a little bit in the I, but it's tougher to decipher there. The L, there's also some clear separation. And then if you look closely again, you can see it in the date. This one, not super valuable. AU50 is a $20 coin. Mint State 63 is $50, and Mint State 65 is $75. But I think it's kind of cool to see that there's errors that are continuing to appear on our coins past, it's a pretty modern process these days, but there's still from time to time some error coins coming out of the mints. By far, our most recent one is the 2014 penny, and this one's really just where you're going to be looking in the date. You can see it a little bit in the 2 and in the 0, a little bit more on the extra thickness type with maybe some slight separation. For the 4 is really where you want to look for it, though. You can see how there's like 2, it's not really a serif to say, but like there's 2 in the crosslet of the 4s almost, or the protruding part. That's where you're going to look for this coin. And this one is $15 in AU50, $50 in Mint State 63, and $75 in Mint State 65. So that wraps it up. Just to review, starting from 1983, we have 1983, both Philadelphia and Denver mints, as well as 1984. We then fast forward to, again, P and D on 1995, then 96, 97, and 06 and 14 are going to be the dates to look for. So hope that you now have a much better, overview of coins with errors on the front of them that you want to be looking for, and I hope that you can find them as well. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more content, and get in touch with me or contact on treasuretown.yt.com, my website, my Facebook, Treasuretown, my Twitter, at treasuretown_YT, or my Instagram, at treasuretown_YT. Looking forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.